A Virginia Republican candidate was recently caught menacing a Texas butterfly sanctuary. Huh. So now this is a bizarre story involving a very bizarre person. And that is Kimberly Lowe. So Kimberly Lowe is a Trump-supporting candidate for the 5th District of Virginia. And so she has apparently been spotted on the property of the National Butterfly Center, a private nature preserve in Texas's Rio Grande Valley. So now I'm curious, like, why would you show up in Texas to a butterfly sanctuary? Well, now she said that, we're here to see the illegals, the ones that are rafting over here from Mexico. Ah, yes. Now, this is according to the executive director of the sanctuary, Marianne Wright. So she had told the Daily Beast back in that on January 21st, 2 women had showed up at her sanctuary, Lowe and a woman she claims was a Secret Service agent. Now, look, if you're a candidate for a state-level house, which is what she is, I believe the Virginia House of Delegates, you do not get Secret Service protection. That's super weird, right? That's super, super weird. All right, so, but now, why the butterfly sanctuary? Of all places? Well, now, Wright explains to the Daily Beast that it's a frequent target for conspiracy theorists, after her and her colleagues had opposed the Trump administration's plans to build a border wall through the middle of the property. So everybody remembers, like, I'm going to build a wall. It's going to be the greatest wall. It's going to be the biggest wall. In fact, when it comes to the context of other walls, no one will build a wall bigger. It's going to be tremendous. All right, so anyway, part of this wall plan, and I remember talking about this, where it would cut through private property. And of course, there are people that didn't want to sell that private property to the government. And so there was a huge concern about eminent domain, which is literally the government grabbing land and using it to build federal projects on, which again is total irony. So now this place, this was right in the middle of the sanctuary, is one of the places where they actually wanted to build that part of that wall. So now, although, and they explain, the National Butterfly Center is located in Texas, Donald Trump's proposed wall would run 2 miles north of the U.S.-Mexico border, bisecting protected land. In 2019, the center filed a restraining order against a construction project. Now, by the way, there's a private construction project. This wasn't even the government. This was Steve Bannon and Brian Kohlfaage's We Build the Wall project that had scammed their own supporters out of millions of dollars. In fact, that's what Steve Bannon went to prison for before he was pardoned by Donald Trump. So they had absolutely no authority to go and try to bully this preserve, this sanctuary out of their land. Total insanity. But then after they had pushed back against that, the owners, and they had a whole court hearing about it, a court filing, I should say. Turns out the conspiracy theorists, the MAGA chuds, they were not happy with this. In fact, one Trump group, the We Build the Wall campaign, as I said, targeted the center with conspiracy theories. Brian Kohlfaage himself, the leader of the group, repeatedly tweeted that the National Butterfly Center was harboring, you're not going to be surprised about these allegations, an illegal sex trade and dead bodies. Yeah, it always comes down to that, doesn't it? He tweeted in 2019, the only butterflies we saw were swarming around a decomposing body surrounded by tons of rotting trash left behind by illegals. Now, by the way, let me just dissect that language for a second here. Notice how older descriptions are, for one, false, completely false. But people who want to believe in this stuff look past the falsehoods, and what they do is that they look at the language. Disgusting, rotting trash, decomposing bodies, disgusting. And it's there to trigger their lizard brains to think, oh, gross, disgusting, horrible, oh, horrifying, it's the children. By late 2019, and it gets worse, conspiracy theorists were circulating memes falsely accusing the National Butterfly Center of being a front for sex traffickers. Wright and colleagues faced in-person threats from members of militia groups like the Oath Keepers and the Three Percenters, as well as threatening phone calls and emails from a man who was later revealed to even be a Texas police officer. Texas police. Insanity. And of course, unfortunately, that type of insanity ends up leading to violence. And by the way, there was a video that's made, live streams that were since deleted by Facebook, that Lowe had made of her interactions, of her going and literally menacing the people at the butterfly sanctuary. In fact, you had Lowe and her colleague Michelle. For one, there's one video that had her watch Border Patrol agents detain migrants, which I assume, of course, they cheered. In fact, Lowe had described herself as saying, "I've got my own 9mm just sitting right here." I couldn't wait to use it. Couldn't wait to use it, I imagine. In her affidavit, Wright said that she approached Lowe and Michelle and informed them that they were trespassing on private property. An audio recording shared with the Daily Beast, which I do not have right at this moment, shed some light on some of that confrontation. Here's what Wright says, quote, "You're here to promote your agenda, and your agenda is not welcome here." Michelle counters by saying, "You're not for keeping the illegals out? So you're not for helping all these poor people in this humanitarian crisis?" Lowe adds, "You're okay with children being sex trafficked and raped and murdered?" It's not real. That it's not actually happening. I'm not saying that there isn't trafficking or sex trafficking. Of course, it does happen. And by the way, there are people that pay others to traffic them to the border. I believe it's coyotes, right? Is one of the groups. Now, why would they pay people to smuggle them across the border, or at least to the U.S. border, across the Mexican border? Well, it's to get people away from crushing poverty, drug gangs, violence. Right now, those countries in Central and South America, some of them are very unstable. And that's partly because of us, the United States. You got the drug war. You got the constant overthrowing of leftist governments by American corporate-backed interests. Of course. Now, when you look at it and you look at what's going on in those places, well, I mean, you can't help but think that the immigrants are victims, because they are. So now, with that in mind, wouldn't you want to help them? Wouldn't you want them to be able to come to America and claim, refugee status, so they could start over and not be in those horrible conditions, and perhaps, also do some policy changes? For example, when you get into office, like, hey, let's not do the drug war, and hey, let's fund these governments and stabilize their governments, and not maybe do, say, AI-funded coups in those countries anymore. Well, wouldn't that be a great thing? That would actually stop a lot of what's going on in Central America. And so now they don't want to do that. No. What they want to do is they just want to build a wall. That's it. That's it. I mean, it's insane. They just want to build the wall and ignore everything else going on in the world because they're scared. It's fear. It's just fear. All right, so now there's more of that exchange. When Wright asked the pair to leave, Michelle claimed that Border Patrol told them that they could enter the property. Well, that's not true. Or as far as I know, that's not true. It's still private property. But then she added, "I'm federal. I work for Secret Service, so nothing is off limits for me." Press X to doubt. Now, when Wright asked the pair to leave, Michelle claims that Border Patrol told them that they could enter. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that already. As Wright laughs at Michelle's claim, Lowe appeared to begin narrating a video. So we're here with a woman who is not a very nice person, who's okay that children, and then of course the audio cuts out because Wright actually, and this is where I believe that she wasn't in the right. Ironic, but she tried to take her phone. Again, that's not the right thing to do, but I get why. she explains in her affidavit that Lowe had her phone up and appeared to be filming her, given Bannon, Colfage, and neo-Nazi Hardy Lloyd and other various outlets had published and broadcast videos of me, along with threats to the center, me and my children. I panicked. I moved to stop her from doing this and knocking or taking away her phone or retreating inside the building to wait for the police. So again, I don't agree with trying to take her phone, but I can understand the reasons why. Absolutely. When you've been targeted by these people, you know, and threatened and, you know, all that stuff, again, you're going to try to defend yourself, but I still don't agree with actually trying to physically take her phone away, which can instigate more violence. In fact, according to Wright's affidavit and the audio record, somebody had shoved her to the ground. "Get the F down, bitch," one of the visiting women is heard shouting. A scuffle ensues, after which Wright accuses the women of taking her phone and refusing to return it. The women leave as another Butterfly Center worker says to call 911. In Lowe's now deleted Facebook Live video, reviewed by the Daily Beast, Lowe and Michelle returned to the car, where Michelle claimed to have Wright's phone. In her affidavit, Wright said that her son went to close the center gate to prevent them from driving off with their device, and of course away from the police. She says Lowe nearly hit her son while accelerating towards the gate. In her deleted video, Lowe appears to drive towards someone, presumably Wright's son. "Get the F out of my way," the congressional candidate says. "Get out of my effing way. Get the F out of my way. Jesus Christ." Oof. Reached for comment, Lowe denied Wright's account of events. And here's what she said. "In short, this woman verbally and physically assaulted us, stole my phone, kidnapped us, and tried to keep us from leaving." Kidnapped? Wait, whoa, kidnapped? Really? There was a physical altercation, and they were waiting for the police. Now, she also claims that they had filed a false police report, which the police have already found to be untrue. I don't know the details of that. And when she couldn't get me on anything because this is a purely political attack, she is now making up more stories, saying I tried to hit her son when she ran to the gate to lock us in and block the exit with his arms out. I did not try to hit him. Jesus. Lowe then offered to send the Daily Beast her footage, but then said that she was unable to because of the large file size. Yo, you ever heard of Dropbox? I mean, you know, hey, look, if you want to get your story out there, your side of the story, and show that video that you had deleted from Facebook Live, because I don't think it was Facebook that deleted it. I think she deleted it. Okay, just Dropbox it. Or yeah, like turn it into a zip file. Do something. File compression. I'm sure you can figure it out. Wow. Again, this is total insanity over, I mean, just over nothing, or conspiracy theories. If she had not believed in insane conspiracy theories and spread them, by the way, then she wouldn't have been there, and this would not have happened. And this woman wouldn't be fearing for her life. Now, one of these things feels like a campaign stunt from a failed candidate. Now, the weird thing about her is I looked into her a little bit, Lowe, and she had apparently been at least according to the Republican Party, of a different county that she had tried to run in. I believe it was the 75th district in Virginia. She had to leave the race, running as an independent, and had formerly supported Bernie Sanders. Very, very, this is an insane story from somebody who apparently was a Bernie to Trump person, because now she's a registered Republican and is running on "We hate brown people." Wow. Just wow. By the way, one more thing too. That butterfly sanctuary had to close over this weekend because of the possibility of threats and violence due to a right-wing rally that was planned about the same time. That was pretty nearby.